There is a better way to do urban youth ministry that actually brings about results in the lives of adolescents. I've met many urban youth leaders, and often I'll ask the question, when you look at urban youth, what do you see? And many times they accent what they see are the problems. They see all of the issues, all the turmoil, the violence and the effects of growing up urban. But then I share with them the story. And it's the story of a contractor, a foreman, that is visiting the work site. And he's talking to different workers. He approaches the first worker and says, "What are you doing?" And he replies, "I'm breaking rocks." So then he says, "Okay." So then he moves on to the next person and says, "What are you doing?" And he replies, "I'm making a living for my family." So then he moves along and approaches a third worker and says, "What are you doing?" And this worker, with a twinkle in his eyes, says, "I'm building a cathedral." So then I pose the question again to the urban youth worker. When you look at youth, what do you see? Do you see rocks? Do you see employment? Or do you see cathedrals in the making? Which do you suppose God wants you to see? So, in a sense, you're dealing with rocks, and that's how you see them, as rocks. That is not seeing them for who they are, and it's not addressing their felt need. You're dealing with surface stuff, but you're not really dealing with who the person really is. Where is God in the equation? And how does God want us to work with these young people who are created in His image? And so the whole thrust of transformational discipleship is starting with seeing what God sees and responding accordingly. We tend to look at the problems and get so mesmerized with the problems that we forget that there are some God-given solutions that only the church can bring to the urban centers. It's the ability to see potential. It's the ability to see beyond what is being displayed to what really is their internal motivation. Who are they? And that's the great question of the adolescent, is who am I? Why do I exist? What is my purpose? I think if that is a God thing, if adolescence is a stage of life that is a part of the God's design for human development, then that should influence how urban youth leaders work with kids.
Yeah. Good job.
The youth worker needs to rightly represent the views and the ideas of the author. Jesus spoke with authority because He was the author of what He was saying. And we speak with authority when we rightly represent Him to kids. When you do that, then you are bringing Jesus to their felt need. Jesus is now addressing their question. There's nothing you see in me that you cannot become. There are two pieces to transformational discipleship and the development of youth that are key. One is at that middle school years, the early adolescence. It's in those meetings where kids learn how to think. Okay, they learn, it's during those 2 or 3 years where week after week you're bringing up topics and subjects. You're creating an environment where there can be absolute honesty, no God talk, no bumper sticker, nothing like that. Anybody tries that, you challenge them. They say, "Oh, it's about faith." What is faith? Yeah, you say, "Oh, it's about redemption." What do you mean by that? You want them to break it down to where they're understanding what they're saying, and also they're being honest. They need to be very, very honest, because what you want to do is get them thinking and recognizing that God does have answers. And so you're always asking the question, where is God in all this? But that is a period of time where you are creating a culture where the kids they're thinking. They're not afraid to challenge. They're not afraid to really think and express their thoughts.
You made it.
Then as they move into the high school years, we invite them to become a part of an Emerging Leaders Initiative. Because they've already done this thinking, when they get to high school, then they can learn by doing. That's the apprentice side. And that's how Jesus discipled. He discipled through apprenticing. That's what discipleship is. And so you put them in a position where they have a meaningful responsibility. And in the urban setting, a very meaningful responsibility is to run the elementary program.
The cross-purpose internship has been a whole bunch of mysteries. But I walked into it with the expectations that I would be working towards racial reconciliation as a minority, and just walking into community and learning what that meant and being developed as a leader, and then working with kids. But coming here, definitely I figured out that there was those things, but so much more. I didn't know that I would walk out of this program in 10 weeks and say that I'm changed and like a different person, and I didn't think that was possible. To come out of the internship 10 weeks later with significant relationships and strong ones that took 10 weeks to make, but probably will have for life, and to come out of this internship just learning what it means to trust God and to have faith in Him. I'm camp director's assistant, so having other people telling me what to do, but also having to lead the other interns and junior staff, as well as being camp counselor and working with the kids, has been stretching, but it's been life-giving for sure.
When you take leaders through a year of, first of all, leading the elementary program, and by doing that, that means that each person takes turn being the leader. The teacher is the leader. They're the ones that plan the meeting. They instruct everyone else on what to do. They go through the meeting, and then afterwards they debrief. They do that through the whole year. In January, they come together as a team, and they develop the summer program. They select the topics. They design it. They put it all together. They spend 4 months working on their curriculum, okay? Because they must know it cold. Because we will not allow any helicopter moms or anyone that's going to save them in that classroom. There'll be someone in there to help them. But the one thing the leader will not do is save them. If they mess up, if they're not prepared for that class, the kids could rise up and tar and feather them, and no one will save them. Consequences. They get the consequences. The most important thing they have to do is be prepared in the classroom for the time the first kid walks in the door, the time the last kid leaves.
The first few, I want to say 4 weeks, I worked with the kids as just a camp counselor and kind of hanging out and getting to know the rest of the staff. And so I had to make that switch from working with the kids and then going back to the high school role and saying, okay, these kids are walking in here and they're not here to pick up trash or to do any of this stuff. Like, I'm supposed to develop them. But I found having to hold them reliable and accountable has also made me do that for myself and for the people around me. Like learning how to speak life into people and to love people, but doing it because you want them to grow as a person.
If you set this up and prepare like this, something different happens. In our staff meetings in the morning, our emerging leaders would talk about problems that came up. Kids would begin to confide in them. They said, what do I do about this? I think there might be abuse in the home, or this kid is having struggles here. The conversation has been elevated, and now leadership is important. And what they do is important, and they know it.
The amazing part is working with the kids, even though if they're annoying, but you always have to deal with them, but they always like make you laugh. And the workers, like Andrews and them, they're always fun to hang out with. And this job, I'm really happy to have it.
If you look up to somebody as like a big brother, then that makes that person a better leader because they'll notice the impact that they have on the kids, and like it'll make them want to lead them in the right direction. Yeah.
You have to step up your game. There's no fooling around.
Just jump in and do your best. When I first started, I wasn't really sure that I'd have this strong connection with the kids like all the other leaders did. And my first thought was, how do I connect better with them? And it just happened naturally.
A leader is the one that helps you try to get you to the point where you should be at.
I think it's in the elementary kid when they look at this high school student that is a credible leader in their neighborhood. They are neighbors, and they're saying, "Wow, I actually could do what this person is doing." It's very powerful.
It's brought out a lot of potential in me that I didn't know that I had, and so to see that I had it was it made me think about a lot more things that I could do. I want to help people change. I want to build a community that's trusted and well-founded, you know, as like a family.
Transformation in the heart of the city, where youth grow in faith and confidence to serve others, starting with the children of their neighborhood, reaching as far as God's purpose for their lives takes them. That's the vision. If you're doing that, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
That this internship has changed my life in ways that I probably can't see right now, but there's so many that I can already see. And just believing in myself as a leader, being confident in who I am and who God has made me to be, knowing that God has made my story unique and there's a place for it in the kingdom, like that's mind-blowing for me, and that's going to affect the rest of my life.
Potential and hope ignite when children see, modeled in youth from their neighborhood, possibilities for their own lives. If we're going to make a fundamental transformative change among youth, it must happen in our communities. It must happen among, as believers, our salt and light, and how we do that. And I think we can influence this next generation of young people as the next generation of leaders work with them in a different way. What is my motivation to do this? Oh boy. I'm a cathedral builder. I think that's how God has designed me to do.